pissed off at the way I went out. I mean, because I put so much into it, and I don't feel as though the effort was reciprocated to put a stamp on, uh, what I accomplished. I'm not going to say that I'm not ecstatic about the opportunity that.
Oh, fuck. So it seems like Goldberg is actually pissed off because, well, I mean, when you really think about it, Goldberg technically has like a point where it's like, the way that his speech was cut off on Saturday, where the match, that he had with Gunther, and he said that on the Ariel Helwani like podcast, where he was just like, if this wasn't Undertaker or John Cena, he felt like a way that they should have done things more classy. Now, granted, we don't exactly know what was really going on Saturday, because from the reports about like Seth Rollins being like injured and maybe they had to like change some things around. Now, here's the thing, because I'm hearing like people online saying like, well, Seth Rollins may or may not be injured, and this could all be like a ploy to set up something for I don't know, like SummerSlam. Like SummerSlam, they could set something up where it's like, okay, Seth could come back and this was all like a big ruse, right? Now, if let's just say like if Seth Rollins isn't really injured, he does come back at he comes back at SummerSlam, and then he cashes in on CM Punk in the whole Gunther match, right? Then it would make WWE look a little bit shady in the sense as to why, you would cut off Goldberg's like retirement speech. Like this is Goldberg. Like he's been wrestling fucking what I don't know, 30 plus. Well, I know he retired. He did take like a long break from wrestling, but he's been in the WCW for a long time, and then eventually he was in the WWE/F at the time. So it's like you would pay some sort of tribute to Goldberg of saying like, hey, he did contribute to wrestling. He was a big star back in the WCW and the WWE/F at the time. Like he was a big star. He was a draw at one point. So for them to like be disrespectful and for him just to have his broadcast to be cut, it's kind of disrespectful. And if Seth isn't injured and he does come back at SummerSlam for the whole CM Punk and Gunther match, then again it would make WWE look a bit bad here. Like, okay, you basically did all of this so that way you could sacrifice like Goldberg's time. Like it wouldn't be right. Now you could look at it in another way of maybe they ran out of time, or maybe they should have done this and they should have probably had the match at a different time where maybe Goldberg would have had more time to speak about his retirement rather than just saying, okay, guys, we're going to cut it off and that's it. But he should have maybe had like a little bit more time to say what he wanted to say. And then that should have been it, rather than it being like, okay, we're just going to cut the time, because I think what they said, he only had like 60 seconds. I think it was either 60 seconds for him to say what he had to say, and then that was it. But if there was changes because of Seth Rollins being injured, wouldn't you think that they would have maybe given Goldberg maybe a bit more time, or maybe they could have done something where Goldberg could have said, okay, maybe he got 10 minutes, like 10 minutes or 15 minutes to cut like his retirement speech. And then that would have been it, like 10 to 15 minutes of him just talking about his life and his family and everything that he contributed to wrestling. And then that would have been it. But instead, they gave him, like, he only had like 60 seconds, and then that was pretty much it. But you see it on the Ariel Helwani like podcast, and he's just explaining that again. He felt disrespected. He felt pissed off. Like, yo, this is how y'all gonna treat me? Like, come on now. It's you can sort of feel for the guy. But then I see on this post, I don't know if this is true or if somebody just like trolling, but I seen on this post where Bret Hart was like, he would have cut that shit off immediately. I said, yo, Bret, that hatred for Goldberg never's gonna die. That shit is never. I'm like, classic Bret. Like, Bret will never forgive Goldberg. I don't care how many times Goldberg like apologized to him, even though he's like, yeah, I apologize to this guy thousands of times, and he said, "You know what? Fuck it. Like I'm done. Like apologize. I said what I said. He doesn't forgive me. It's whatever." And it's like on the post, it's just crazy of what he said. Hold on, let me see if I can find this shit. Hold up, let me see. Let me see if I can find this shit, because I was like, "Yo, Bret, you crazy man." Hold on, let me see if I can find this shit. Let me see. Hold up, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find that shit. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. They said Bret claims he would have pulled the plug on Goldberg's speech quicker than NBC did. Damn. They said, and I would have cut it off sooner than the network did. I would have cut it as soon as his music started for his entrance. Damn. Yo, I tell you, like I said, Bret will never forgive. He will never forgive. Like you give this scenario, and I'm pretty sure he would choose this scenario in a heartbeat. So you got a black guy who committed a crime. He committed like the most horrendous crime in human history, right? And then you got Goldberg. You got Goldberg, and he's like, who would he pick? It's like, I'm sorry, Goldberg. He's gonna probably pick the criminal, the horrendous criminal over Goldberg. And it's like, damn, like he just doesn't give a fuck. He like, you know what? Fuck him. He screwed my career. He made me retire early. Cause just imagine the matches we could have had with Bret Hart. We could have had like more matches with like maybe like Undertaker and Bret, maybe Shawn and Bret, maybe John Cena and Bret, right? We could have had a bunch of matches. I feel, in my opinion, like Bret was just a great wrestler. He was like a tremendous wrestler. So it's like, if that injury didn't take place, then sure, that we would have had Bret. Bret would have retired at a certain point. He would have had like one last like match, and then that would have been it. And he would have retired at a certain point. Because I think Bret is, I don't know if he's in his early 60s or his late 50s, but he would have had like one last great match, and then that would have, probably would have been it for Bret. But that hatred for Goldberg is crazy. That hatred for Goldberg is crazy. But it's just, but when you look at things for Goldberg, should he have had more time? Sure. If this was like anybody else, like when Triple H had his Hall of Fame announcement, and that shit, they said almost went a whole hour, and everybody was sleeping in the crowd. Nobody cut his time. I'm like, well, technically that is true. Undertaker, nobody cut his time. I think Ric Flair, I don't know if anybody cut his time, but everybody had their time. And I'm like, Goldberg, it felt like it was a bit disrespectful. And it's like, you sort of could feel for the guy. You could sort of probably feel for the guy, but I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, if Seth isn't injured and he comes back at SummerSlam, then you would know, like, okay, damn it, like Goldberg got screwed over. Like, this was crazy. Like, somebody just stuck it out for Goldberg. Like, fuck this guy. But if Seth is legitimately injured and we do not see him at SummerSlam, then it's like, okay, maybe the networks probably pulled it. Maybe they just ran out of time. Maybe there was some time constraints, and they said, all right, he only had like a couple of seconds to say what he needed until they just cut the broadcast. Even though if it was that like that, then they should have done it differently or had it somewhere else for him to say. Maybe they should have had the match at SummerSlam or something, of having like Goldberg versus Gunther, and then maybe after he could have said his speech there, and then that would have been it. But they didn't do that. They said, Saturday night's main event, and then they just cut it. Because typically with like Saturday night's main event, they would have the show, and then it just, like, how they have like these matches, and typically it's sometimes short. Like if the person does their finisher, and then that's it, and it's all right, 1, 2, 3, then they move on. Like, it's not really like in a longer format of if you're watching like a Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, or these other premium live events where they go a while. They go for a little while. But typically, like these Saturday night's main events, it's not that long. I think, what is it, like an hour? I think it's like at least an hour. So they don't go that long. So I feel like whoever did this, maybe they didn't know, or maybe they purposely said, we just gonna fuck with Goldberg. Goldberg's gonna retire anyway. Just fuck him. Just give him this shit, and then that's it. who knows? But the structure and how they did it, you could probably say that it was kind of fucked up what they probably, did to Goldberg on that part of the disrespect of giving him that, knowing that's typically Saturday night's main event don't really go out. It don't last that long anyway. So, but it is what it is. But classic Bret Hart. He said I would have cut his shit. Fuck Goldberg. I would have cut his fucking mic. And his music. I said, damn, Bret, you gotta chill. Fuck that. I would have cut his whole shit. But comment down below what you guys think about, Goldberg's time being cut. And how do you feel about Goldberg's match against Gunther? And like, comment, subscribe, and share. Catch you all in the next one.